Hey everyone, welcome to this new moon Sidereal astrology forecast for the new moon on September 17th, 2020. All right, so new moon in Virgo, the constellation of the Maiden, which is all about the side of ourself that is improvement oriented and really wants to strive towards improving and refining things in our life. It's the side of ourself that is detail oriented and wants to fix things, find solutions, wants to better things for ourselves, for our environment, and all in all, just a really good time to get into things like personal development, maybe routines, building good habits, but fundamentally striving towards that improvement orientation. So with this new moon, we do have opposition up to Neptune, which is the deep water energy that's like Pisces. And so always good with Virgo anyways to balance it with more receptivity. So although it's a time of focusing on what we do have control over and improving and refining things, also remembering to surrender what's outside of our control, to find more peace in life, and do things that are more important on a spiritual and soul level for us. So good to find that balance between doing, being, work and rest, physical life and spiritual life. With the new moon, we do have trines up to the outer planets that have been causing a lot of the transformations we've been seeing both collectively and personally in our life, and this is Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. So good harmony to that means that it could be a good time of seeing that we do have a bit of support to move things forward in terms of anything that has been restructured in your life this year, in terms of maybe feeling a bit grounded or responsible, maybe a bit open-minded, and maybe a bit empowered with this trine up to those three planets. All right, so we have this. We also have some other aspects that are going on here around the 17th. So let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here is the chart for the new moon. New moon will be at 05:25 a.m. Eastern time of the Americas on Thursday, but for all intents and purposes, it will be around this Thursday time period for us here in the world. Wednesday, late Wednesday, early Thursday time. So first of all, new moon, time of new beginnings, and this is a fresh new start for the lunar month. As we approach Thursday, good to kind of finalize things and complete things from the previous cycle and give ourselves plenty of time to kind of, turn inward a little bit, because this is the lowest energy phase of the cycle and we do just build more momentum as we go forward here. And it does take some time for those new beginnings to slowly set roots and for us to plant these new seeds. But nonetheless, great time of setting intentions to develop new things in our life for the upcoming month and even 6 months if you want to look at it from the yearly sense. So in Virgo, the Maiden, and we're going to have, by the way, 2 new moons associated with this, because since we are using the actual size of the constellations on this channel called True Sidereal Astrology, which, by the way, if you do notice some of the signs I'm mentioning are different, definitely check out the link down below for more information on True Sidereal. But Virgo is a very large constellation, which we factor in here, and so we will have a second new moon in the next month regarding this. But starting it now for this month, how can we start to get into this improvement orientation? Now, the new moon is going to be at the top of Virgo, which represents more of the head energy, which is more about maybe analyzing, trying to figure things out, understand things a little bit more, with Virgo being a mutable sign. And so this will be good to incorporate this side of ourselves. How can we use our minds to solve problems, right? To see if there's any solutions we can find in certain situations of our life. Again, to embetter our lives or to embetter the lives of others, or to get into more of the sort of service and wanting to facilitate things for ourselves and others kind of energy. So this is all about striving towards improvement and refinement. And if there is anything in your life that you do want to put in some of this work into, Virgo is very much about the work. It's about refining. It's about developing. It's about building good habits, right? And building even skills and stuff that can help us again, and better things. So great to have this perspective. And if there are some new intentions you do want to set around this new moon in terms of what can improve things, facilitate things, or better things in your life, and to do the work to make that happen and to build good habits to make that happen, this could be a great way of working with this new cycle. All right, so that's the most important thing. It's really where the main energy is going to be concentrated for a very long time. Actually, again, large constellation, the sun will be here for almost 2 months. And so very long transit of this type of energy, all just getting started right now with this fresh new start. All right, so let's take a look at some of the aspects that we have with the new moon. The most important being that the new moon will be opposite up to Neptune, which is the deep, watery energies of life. For those of you familiar with Pisces, it's very much like that. And so with Virgo always opposite Pisces, nonetheless, it's always good to find that balance, right? Between the work and the rest, between the doing and the being, between certainly focusing on what we do have control over, but at the same time, there's so much of life that is outside of our control. So surrendering that to the divine process or the universal process, right? So balancing this work and peace and what's important physically, but also spiritually, anything that combines these two is a great way of working with this. And if there are any extremes on either side of it, because it is an opposition, we could either, one part of us maybe want to escape or hide away. So being conscious of that and aware of that. And also maybe another side that wants to completely avoid the more deeper spiritual internal elements by just simply doing. Because Virgo wants to do, it's just the doing energy. But we do want to, of course, always check in with our feelings, check in with what's important spiritually, right? Turn inward, which is a great way of working with this. In this way, we can find greater balance between the physical, spiritual, and what's important for the day-to-day activities, but also what's important for us spiritually, right? So great to incorporate some of that Neptune energy into these new beginnings as well. Now there is this trine up to these outer planets that have been involved with a lot of the restructuring we've been seeing collectively since January, which is the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and now Jupiter direct passing over both Pluto for the last time here and Saturn towards the end of the year. So what this symbolizes here is that some of those things that have been maybe more catalyzing, more transformative this year in good harmony. So if there are any intentions you want to set in terms of continuing to restructure things in your life that you've been maybe restructuring this year, it could be a great month to do this. We could just notice a little bit more support from these planets. Saturn in a trine with the sun exact around the new moon could give us a good sense of patience, collectively speaking, and also relatively speaking, but some good patience, some good discipline, some more of a long-term perspective, which can be very constructive. Trine up to Pluto, great for empowerment. This whole new cycle is great for facing fears or doing things that we feel like is going to empower us in some way and create some healthy changes here in our life. And then a trine up to Jupiter, meaning that there is a lot to be open-minded about. While it's a time of building and a lot of the long-term goals, a trine to Jupiter can help us see the bigger picture, especially with all these planets in Sagittarius in this true sidereal system. So expanding our beliefs, right? Because a lot of what we believe to be true ends up manifesting, or at least creates opportunities to manifest. So while we do want to put in the grounded approach, again, we also do want to implement the open-minded approach, right? And be willing to examine things from a more open mind, a more open horizon that then could allow some perhaps opportunities or inspirations or potentials to come in with this trine as well. All right, so that's the most important stuff here with the new moon. But like I said, we do have some aspects going exact. A lot of what we talked about. The sun will be trining up to Saturn exact. So there's that, again, disciplined grounding energy certainly available around this new moon time period. And Mercury will be squaring up to Jupiter and soon to be squaring up to Pluto and Saturn. So more in the challenging elements with those outer planets when it comes to our minds and perhaps our communications. So with this though, with Mercury squaring Jupiter though, around this new moon, this is more of a benefic kind of energy because Jupiter is more of the expansive planet, a little more benefic. So in this case, if there are any, sort of oscillations with our minds, either over optimism or under optimism, maybe over hopefulness or under hopefulness, do recognize that there are certainly opportunities like I was saying, especially in terms of what we're thinking about, but to build towards them, right? Maybe do some planning, maybe do some implementation, maybe ground and implement it into good habits or routines with Mercury in Virgo, right? So grounding that, recognizing that there are potentials, and we do want to implement it though. So we're not just going over extreme or under extreme with potentials. We are implementing it. And in this way, it becomes very constructive. This can also be a great time for simply discussing things that are more abstract, like philosophy, spirituality, things on that level. There could even be opportunities coming in with through communications or interactions with others in some sense. But then again, grounding it, I think, is really the key there. And just being observant of the mind in terms of any type of buoyancy or under buoyancy in terms of our perspective. Now, the trine up to Saturn, we pretty much talked about. A grounding time, quite responsible, could be very productive part of this cycle, of the really yearly cycle in a sense, can get a lot done because we're willing to usually put in more time and more patience and more discipline into things. So that's certainly an orb and definitely the strongest here around this Thursday time period. All right, so that is the new moon in a nutshell. Most important thing is that it's a fresh new start. Give it some time, but a great time of setting some new intentions. And then as we get into the weekend and into next week, slowly noticing some building of energy and building of momentum. All in the context of how can we refine and improve things? How can we further develop this improvement-oriented side of ourselves? To see that things, we can facilitate things in our life and create good habits and good routines and good personal development, to make this stuff come into actuality. If there were any inspirations or things you found fun from the previous month, it could be a good time of now starting to implement it through those habits and through work and through routine, right? Great way of working with this cycle. But balancing that with rest, balancing that with what's important spiritually and turning inward to connect to our spiritual and emotional selves, to help balance out this more doing energy of Virgo, and good trines up to the more transformative planets from this year. Maybe some discipline, maybe some self-empowerment, and maybe some willing to expand our horizons and see things from different perspectives. All right, so everyone have a fantastic new moon. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet. If you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, definitely check out the link down below. It's absolutely free and you get extra content and videos and things like that. So link below for that. But again, wish you an awesome new moon, everyone. Thank you again. And I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.